I'll do okay. No okay. I'm glad to.
All right, if everybody's ready, it looks like it's 6 o'clock, so I'd like to call this budget workshop to order. So appreciate everybody being here tonight. So the first item is discussion of the budget. And if you had a chance to look at the agenda, of course, we're going to discuss the FY 22-23 general operating budget and special revenue fund budgets. And then I'll explain what that means in a minute. Then you see we've got the comments, and we'll do the comments in the order of that you see there. So let me kind of, if I can, sort of set the stage for both council and for the people here so we're all on the same page on what's going to happen here tonight. So as I said, it's our budget workshop. And to remind council and our guests, at a workshop, we do not take votes on any topic. So this is a draft budget that the council and administrator are here to discuss. This is a less formal meeting because we'll hear from you and discuss it with you as well. We may ask the administrator to make changes to the budget before we take it up at first reading if we have a consensus to do that. Also, I want to remind council at this meeting that we'll hear the administrator's report on the budget as he walks through the memo that he has provided us. Then I'll go through the budget page by page just to ensure we've covered everything you want covered. And I'll be moving through that page by page pretty quickly because you've had this budget for several days for study. However, please understand, council, that doesn't mean you can't ask questions later on any page or any budget topic. During first, second, and third readings of the budget, we can discuss any line item or any other topic in the budget council would like to discuss. The point I'm trying to make is this. For the three readings, we won't be going through the memo again, nor will we be going through the budget page by page. At the next three meetings, we'll discuss what the administrator recommends and what council wants to discuss. In other words, at each meeting, I'm going to ask the administrator if there are changes we need to consider that have come up since the last budget discussion, and there are always items that pop up that have to be added or taken away from the budget during first, second, or third readings. And then at each meeting, I'm going to ask council at each reading if you have any questions or suggested changes to the budget. We can vote to amend it at that time. So, are there any questions from council on the process I have described? Is everybody good? Everybody understands? All right, if not, then I'll remind you that this budget comes to you put together by staff and comes recommended by the Budget and Finance Committee. I'll ask Mr. Talbert if he has anything to add since he is the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee.
At this time, I don't have nothing to add.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Talbert. Mr. Leduc has spent a great deal of time working through this budget to bring us a balanced budget with no fees or tax increases. I want to say a big thank you to him, and also a big thank you to Taz Potts, our finance director, for working to put this budget together for us. So with that, I'm going to stop talking, and I'll ask the administrator to take us through the budget memo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to start off by thanking Taz especially for all the help she's given, for Renee Austin, who is the clerk that did a lot of the typing and putting this together, but more so even the elected officials and the department heads, and literally hundreds if not thousands of hours went into this document here. And it wasn't just one person, it was many people that have put this together. And I know a lot of elected officials and department heads had to really think hard about what was important as we looked at what to fund, what not to fund, knowing that we always have a very tight budget and we always have a lot of considerations. So again, thank you for everybody that was a part of this. The first thing that I want to say is last year, unfortunately, we were not able to provide the full salary that we wanted to, and this year we were able to put in a 5% increase. I say that and it sounds great, but we all know how inflation is hitting everything. During my time in working with local government, if this continues, we may have to look at that again. And I hope That's not going to be the case, but we do have a minimum 5% in here. We have the Archer report coming back probably in the next week or two, and there may be a few other adjustments that we'll make based on that, but that again would be coming back to you before first, second, or third reading. But right now there's a minimum 5% increase for every employee in the department, except for the sheriff's office and the paramedics, who received major increases last fall, so that they are not within that 5%. One of the major things that we looked at in this year's budget was the fact that at our jail, we have a nurse that comes in 5 days a week for 6 hours each day. They provide the assessment of any new inmate that comes in. They also go ahead and put together any medicines that are needed by those that are there. We feel we need to have someone there 7 days a week. But I also have worked, especially in my other lifetime with the city of Aiken, and we had a wellness nurse that provided an awful lot of assistance to our employees. That was giving information on wellness, taking blood pressure readings, doing cholesterol tests, giving necessary shots. If somebody got hurt on the job, they could go to the nurse, get triage, or they would send them, you really need to go to the doctor, or you need to go to the hospital. Somebody came in and they weren't feeling well. Again, that nurse could provide a lot of help. Every year they gave flu shots, and when the tetanus shots were needed, they gave tetanus shots. And so we have in the budget for next year funding to have a full-time nurse and on weekends. That will provide someone at the jail 8 hours a day, and then also provide someone there for about 6 hours on Saturday and Sunday. If council approves this, we would, number one, talk to the CEO, Carlos Milanes, over at the Edgefield County Hospital, and hopefully they would go ahead and arrange a contractual agreement with us. That's what we did in the city of Aiken. We worked with Aiken Regional, and in fact, Carlos Milanes was the CEO at the time over in Aiken when we started the program. And so they provided a nurse, and then we paid the hospital for that service. That's great to have, because then they have doctors that will sign off and provide other assistance. But if they're not willing to do that, then we'll look at some other provider to allow us to have that nurse. So that's one of the major things that we have in the budget that we are asking for your approval, and the funding is there for that nurse. The second thing is IT. IT has become critical for all the departments. For years, we depended on a firm called EDTS. The CEO of that firm lived in Edgefield County, did a fantastic job in working with the county. They sold their company a few years ago to a firm up in the Northeast. They give okay service. I have not been really impressed by them. We've had some difficulties, Taz and I, in getting information on a timely basis. And so we are going to be looking at, can we cobble together enough hours and money to have our own IT people on staff. We feel we need to have at least 1.5 persons, one full-time person, and then at least one part-time person. I was kidding with some of you about this, that part-time person could be a high school person. Many of them know a whole lot more about computers and setups than certainly somebody my age. So I don't care if it's going to be another 20 hours with a high school person, college person, or senior, but we're probably looking at 1.5 persons. Taz and I will be working on this to try to determine how much money, but we feel that we're going to be able to come up with enough funding so that we could have our own in-person IT department. That was probably the number one thing I heard from more elected officials and department heads of what can we do about our IT. And so that is a major component. We will be getting back to you in the next 30 to 60 days with a solution as to what we feel we can propose for the future.
So let me interrupt you. then on one question on the first two things you talked about, the nurse and the IT. Right now, you're saying that neither one of those are in this budget.
The nurse is in the budget.
Okay.
The IT is not in the budget. The IT is in the budget, but it's within various departments. 5,000 in one department, 10,000 in another. And so we need to draw all that out and find out what are the real needs for each department and how we are going to pay for that individual. But the nurse is in there. We raised it from $113,000 currently to $140,000 salary, which should cover that. We're estimating about 52 hours a week.
Thank you.
Currently, when I ever look at budgets, from year to year, your capital changes. So when we look at a total budget, we look at operation and maintenance, and then we look at what the capital is within the budget. Our budget that you have before you, get my numbers here, is $12,685,155. That's the operation and maintenance. And then the capital improvements that we have is the $958,661. We're proposing to use the American Recovery Plan Fund money for these one-time, non-reoccurring requests that we have. Exhibit A shows all those requests. So our operating and maintenance is at $12,685. When I look at the amount of reserves that we have, and then look at how many months we have of those reserves, we have a little over 5 months of reserves that are set aside. I believe the county has an ordinance that says we have to have a minimum of 3 months. So we're well over that. And I looked at it, I actually got down to the penny, and we have 5.05 months of reserves. So if we went ahead and had some additional things that council request, or there's changes in the budget over the next several weeks. For instance, I got a request in just this week from the public defender. We had not received anything from them. 80% of the cases, they stayed in general sessions, and almost all the juvenile cases, they asked for a public defender. And they increased their budget, or the request, from $45,000 to $60,000. So that's, right now we have $45,000, so there will be an adjustment of the public defender in the budget before you have first reading up to $60,000. So we know there's going to be some adjustment, we know there's going to be some changes, and those changes will be reflected in the first reading, and then there's going to be probably some changes between second and third reading, and those will be reflected until we get to the final reading, which will be in June. As the chairman stated, we do not have any fees or taxes that we're increasing. Taxes, the general fund, just for instance, we have in this budget, and it's been increasing at a 3 to 5% increase per year. We're stating there, we're hoping on getting, not hoping, we're planning on getting $4.7 million in property taxes. But then we're got another $910,000 in vehicle taxes and several other tax areas. So that is our largest by far amount of revenue that we receive within the budget. Then we have what we call standalone budgets, and they're at the very end that, again, as the chairman stated, we'll go through page by page. That consists of like EMS. EMS comes from taxes, but it's a separate line item in your tax bill. There is enough funds in there to take care of our operation and maintenance needs. There is not enough money coming in right now to take care of any capital improvements. We were very fortunate that the hospital board was willing to give us enough money last year to pay for an ambulance. We are requesting right now additional funds for some stretchers and an ambulance that we hope to receive in about another year and a half. So if we could get the hospital board to continue funding these items, we feel that we have enough funds coming in through the taxes to take care of the operation and maintenance at this point. So even though we did not provide funding in there for the paramedics for increase, there is funding in there for the EMTs that did not get an increase last fall. When we look at solid waste, I see Jim Dorn is here. As most of you know, the senior center provides the manpower at all the convenience centers. We had a problem at one of the convenience centers where we were getting a backup of dozens of vehicles on Saturdays and Sundays. And I talked to Mr. Dorn about this, and we resolved that if we could add a third person starting sometime on Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, that we could then open up another compactor at that site and relieve the number of people coming through. At the same time, we sent our litter control officer, Randy Doran, and he went out there on those times, and he turned away individuals that did not live in the county, because we had that complaint also. So he's out there spot checking, literally asking everybody to roll down your window. No one has gotten mad. No one's gotten shouting. No one's pulled a weapon or anything, but he had to turn around. Not a lot of people, but a few people that did not live in the county. So we've taken those two approaches, and so we put funding in the solid waste to cover that extra person, and we put in a salary increase. Mr. Dorn asked that we go up to $8.10, which we provided within that budget. So those two things are in the budget, and we still were able to balance it without any increase. Unfortunately, we had a 24% increase in our solid waste fees that we're paying to Tri-County Solid Waste. So all of our waste goes to a location. It's called a transfer station. They take waste from McCormick, Saluda, and us. It goes into a pile, they recompact it, and then they send it on to Three Rivers. We are having a 24% increase, or $150,000 increase in what we have to pay them next year. But we were able to absorb that because of the increase in the number of houses and property owners that were paying towards that fund. So we're okay right now, and I know that's always a concern. Did that budget balance? The third major component of the standalone budgets was with the road fees. As we all know, that the Supreme Court ruled that the fees up in Greenville County were not appropriate, and basically stated that any road fee that wasn't fully using all of our resources just for Edgefield County residents may not be legal. So County Council made the decision that we would go ahead and put this as a tax, which we did starting in October of last year. So there are no vehicle fees currently. So the $27 that people were paying ceased as of January 1st. The legislator is working on language. They hope to have something in this session. There's no guarantees on it, but if the legislators come up with the language which will allow us to have those road fees, I will be coming back to you and asking you to eliminate that tax and let's reapply the road fees. So right now, it's a balanced budget based on the taxes we're getting in, which do not cover all of the funds, but using some of the reserves, we were okay for this year. So those are our major standalone. We do have 8 school resource officers. We had 5 going into this past year. We added 3 more. Those cover all the public and charter schools in Edgefield County for their very first time. So I'm real proud of the sheriff working with the school district and what this means for all the students that we have here within Edgefield County. So that's really a great thing, because not only do they provide a safety aspect, but they're able to get together with a lot of the children and do a number of different things to assist them. I know that recently I heard that they gave a class on gangs and what that means and how to avoid that, and drugs and other things, that they provide more than just being a presence at that school. So this is a great thing for Edgefield County. Getting back to the general fund, in the county council's budget, we added two new things. One is a line item, it's $500,000 coming from the ARPA money that many of you said, what can we do to work more with the towns and provide them some funds so that they could do some things that maybe they've always wanted to do, have art centers or community centers or something that's going to support the citizens within their community. And I say community because when you look at our towns, they support more than the individuals just inside the town. They're supporting individuals throughout the county, especially those just outside their particular town. So there's $500,000 in there that we have a committee made up of two of our chairwomen that are working with the towns. In fact, we're having our first meeting, I think, next week, Thursday, on the 22nd. No, Tuesday. And we're going to be meeting with all the towns and talking about what can we do to support you. And so we will have $500,000 in there that they would apply as a grant, do specific things within their community. Council would look at that. I set it up as a 50-50 grant. In other words, they would have to come up with 50%. If they had a project that was $200,000, they'd come up with $100,000. County Council would use $100,000 from the ARP money to provide for that grant. So this is a way to help support the towns within our county. And one of the first questions that somebody may say is, well, is that 3 towns or 4 towns? Well, we do have 4 towns within our county, but if they're going to make a request from the southernmost town, North Augusta, that money would have to be used in Edgefield County. They just can't say, hey, we got this project we want to do in North Augusta. Yes, that's fine, as long as it's in North Augusta, Edgefield County. The second thing we have, in the year I've been here, I've heard a number of complaints concerning litter. We do have a litter control officer, been making a number of cases, picks up a lot of litter that, where bags are just dumped here and there and tires and other things. But there's still a tremendous amount of litter that's on our major highways. It looks bad. It doesn't say good things about our county and what a great county we have. So I did put funding in here for up to 4,000 hours of litter pickup. Now, what does 4,000 hours mean? There's 2,080 hours in a year. If you took 2 individuals working almost full-time or 4 individuals working 20 hours a week, but it's essentially, we're going to have someone out there for about 4,000 work hours picking up litter. They would work with our litter control officers and may say, okay, next week we're going to be on 25, or we're going to be on 121, or we're going to be on 23, or maybe there's some other major roadways that we need to cover. And hopefully this will make a difference. We'll give it a try, and if it does, we could continue it in the budget. But I think we need to do something to try to stem the tide of this litter that we see in the county. So that is also in the budget, and that's under the county council. The county council building, this building we're in, nice building. And when I put this in the budget, several of you did not know this, but we do not own this building. We've been renting this building for over 20 years, and I'm recommending that we buy this building. I had Doc talk to Jerry Coleman, our appraiser for the county, and they estimate it be valued at about $175,000. Now, our current lease agreement says that we would get 3 independent appraisers. They would all look at it and come up with a value. So there's a process that we'd have to go through, but I'm recommending that we go ahead and purchase this building. It's not in the budget, and if we want to add that to the budget, you would just have to tell me. Again, we'd be using the ARP money for this to buy it. It's going to save us about $15,000 a year if we own it. about $15,000 a year. So it's not going to have a great payback, but I think it's something that would be good for the county long-term to go ahead and buy that. In the clerk of court office, there's two major things. Last year, he came to council requesting funding for painting and carpeting. That got turned down. Looking at this and talking to our clerk over there, I feel this is needed. Some of the carpeting could even become a tripping hazard. And again, we want to have our best face forward. And so funding is in there for painting and with the carpet. We also have some funding in there for some things in the archives office. If you ever go in there, they have some tall shelving with boxes way above your head, and we're just asking for an injury for someone reaching for those boxes, and so we're going to get a lift machine that's in the budget to help with that, some tables out there, and that all is in the budget under some furniture for the archives department. The coroner met recently with David Burnett. He is not here tonight. Their number of cases have gone up 33% in the last couple of years. Now, some of that's COVID, some of it's other issues. And when I say cases, this is not just 33% deaths. These are things that they get involved with, or autopsies and drug issues. But yes, there are some COVID. Neither one of us feel that's sustainable and it's going to continue. But he asked for several things because of that increase. If you see in my budget message, I reduced that in several cases. He would like to go ahead and see more salary for his employees. I talked to them about this. We have reduced a couple of line items that are not reflected currently in the budget so that he could go ahead and give a little bit more money to the two employees that he works with. So right now there's he asked for a 50% increase. It's at 11%, and there would be a couple of adjustments in here, but the same bottom line item in the budget will not change for him. So that's the request that he made. In the magistrate's office, they have had few, maybe not even any major trials concerning family court in the last couple of years because of COVID. To catch up, he's hoping on having 50 jury trials a year. With that means there's going to be more funding necessary for the jurors, for the travel, for postage, for printing, and so all those things are reflected in this year's budget for the magistrate. It's a goal. Frankly, it's going to be a hard goal for him to reach, and he realizes that. But that's what he's asking staff to, let's gear up for 50 trials, and that would be starting next month. So with that, hopefully we'll get some community workers that could go out there and start picking up some litter and doing some other things. So that's could be something that we'll gain from that. In the assessor's office, found a program that literally you'll take your book out in the field, measure up the property you have. It'll go ahead and do all the calculations and provide all the mathematics that are needed to assess what that new property is valued at. We feel by doing this, this could eliminate another person. Right now, there are a couple of people short. My understanding is we offer somebody this week, but then we would not have to hire that other person. So this would eliminate one of the persons that they had in here a couple last years. The emergency management, there are two positions in emergency management. One is by our EMA director, Susie Spurgeon, who's here. And the other one is by an assistant. That assistant left, I believe it was in January. My recommendation in here is that we not replace the assistant, that we instead give part of that salary to Susie. She has requested an increase, looked at other counties, what would they pay their EMA director. And so a part of that would go to her, and then we would go ahead and assign the assistant, because we do need to have an assistant if Susie was sick, if Susie's out of town, Susie's at training, and we had an emergency, we need someone there to assist her by being the EMA director in her absence. Or if we did have an emergency, again, someone would be there as her assistant to help go get things that are needed during that emergency. So we would be naming someone within our current structure to be the assistant, and we'd give them a slight increase for that. And by the way, half of their salary comes from a grant, plus any other capital item is paid 100%. And so most of the budget that you see coming out of EMA comes from a grant that the state provides. It's at $58,000, I believe, for next year. It was at 57 this year. A lot of years we haven't been able to spend it all because we just haven't had enough items to put in there. So we came up with, one of the things is we need to replace one of our antennas. To replace an antenna and someone who's going to climb up those several hundred feet in the air, it's very expensive to do that. So that's just alone as a $10,000 item. The Sheriff's Department, he had asked for 1 lieutenant patrol, 2 deputies, investigator, 1 dispatcher, and 3 people at the detention center. And by the way, we are now referring to it as the detention center instead of the JAIL. So it's going to slip more than once, I'm sure, on my part to get this right. But at the detention center, we talked about it, knowing that we gave some major increases to employees last year, and we settled on having 1 patrol lieutenant and then 1 deputy. I know he would like to have more, and this was a compromise, and I'm sure in the very near future he'll be asking for additional individuals. Now, he and I have had a lot of debate on this one item. Again, as I said, we have now 8 resource officers. You know, they do make a difference, and they do make a difference on who's investigating what kind of cases. Probably the biggest area that he and I maybe don't agree 100% on is there are 3 individuals that are just gotten out of the Justice Academy. They're certified, but they're not trained to be a full-time officer in the field all by themselves. They will be in the next few months, and so we will now have 3 individuals that we haven't had for this past year that'll be on full-time. So we are adding to the staff, just not maybe to the degree and as fast as he would like it. But we try to meet all the needs that he had here. One of the things they did ask for was a lot of equipment that they've felt like they've needed for some time, especially with this, what I call the SWAT team, to make sure that they were protected, to things like stop sticks, you know, the sticks that you put out there, they stop you because they flatten your tires, to restraints that when you're sitting in the back seat of the vehicle, to equipment that they're going to have at the jail. So there's $100,000 in the Sheriff's Department and $5,000 in the jail department, the detention center, to cover those needs for the department. Next year, they'll also be adding 12 additional leased vehicles. Currently, they have 24 leased vehicles. We'll be adding another 12 to the fleet. So we will now have 36 leased vehicles at the department, making a major difference as far as nothing worse than having a deputy trying to respond to an emergency and their car conks out because of the engine or transmission problems or other issues. And so we feel like a major step went forward with all these leased vehicles. Animal control, which is under the sheriff's department. Currently, the animal control officer spends a lot of time on the road, dropping animals off at the Aiken County shelter. We have added a part-time person to make approximately one trip every day so that the animal control officer could stay on duty in their position. They had asked for a little bit more than that, but I said, let's start with this and see how that works out by having them go once a day. Currently, most days, they're going twice a day to the shelter. I'm not too sure if that's totally necessary every day, but that's a thing that we'll be looking at. We're also going to be looking at this next year. And I know we've looked at this once before with the county, but is it time that we have our own animal shelter? Last time we looked at this, the cost was prohibitive. The sheriff and I have looked at this, and we feel like there's ways that we might be able to cut some of those costs. And so that's one of the things on my to-do list, assuming I'm still here later this year, to look at the animal control shelter with him. At the county maintenance involves two things. One is the county garage. They do some oil changes, they do some repair, especially on heavy equipment, and they're also triage. If we have a vehicle that needs some work on it, they make a decision, well, yes, something we can work on, or no, you need to send it to this garage or that garage. Then the other part is a gentleman called Joe Simpson. Joe Simpson helps maintain the buildings, literally keeps the lights on, does some electrical, does some plumbing work. A lot of the offices that needed partitions going across, especially during COVID, he built those partitions instead of us going out and contracting it out. He does all the mowing. He does a number of different things. And so we put a part-time person in here, especially during the summer, so that he could continue to help maintain some of those places. Very invaluable employee. And so we have added that to it along with an increase in pay for him. Some of the major maintenance items that we have, this building here needs some roof repair. In our current agreement, even though we're renting it, our agreement says that we're responsible for any repairs. So before the roof gets real bad, we have about $10,000 in just roof repairs. The DSS roof needs to be totally replaced. So that's in the budget. As I told you, we have the carpeting and painting at the courthouse. Those are our major items within the buildings that we have within the budget. Economic development, we're raising our fee to the partnership. We have a healthy balance of about $250,000. One of the items that we're still looking into, because I know the chairman has asked Taz and I, and that's the fee in lieu of taxes. According to our ordinances, 10% of those fees should be in that budget. I can't say that we've ever done that. So we're looking into it. We're meeting with someone from the state in early April with Bill Gilchrist to determine what amount of fee in lieu and who are we getting the fee in lieu of from the various industries that are here. And from that, we'll be able to determine then what that 10% should be. And so we will probably have a line item adjustment at some point in economic development to add more revenue to that account. We also have in that account $50,000 that is coming from the ARP to use for next year's funding for the retail strategy that is working with us on these incentive zones. Lastly, one of the other items that came up in the past week, I had asked there's 1, 2, 3, the 5 departments that are in the old Callahan building, which we now refer to as the Nice building. It was just built a couple of years ago, but because of funding, we were not able to finish it out. So one of the requests was to add the cabinetry that we need it in that building. It's going to cost around $10,000. It's actually a little bit under, but I feel by the time we go ahead and get this all approved, it'll be over 10,000 for the cabinetry in that building. And that will help us complete that. So again, that'll be a line item adjustment going forward. Mr. Chairman, that are all my comments. Sorry I took so long.
No, I appreciate it. And before I ask council, let me ask you a question about one thing in here, Mr. Administrator. I believe it's on page 3. Page 3, you just didn't mention this, so I just needed to, for all of us to understand. Under the clerk of court, the new phone system at a cost of $20,000.
I'm sorry, I thought I did mention it, but
So that's
I
in-
apologize.
That's in the budget. I want to make sure
that
that's
is in the budget.
in the budget. Okay.
Absolutely. And when I say the phone system, this is not just covering the clerk's office. We have several other individuals. We got PP&P there, we have the probate there, the courthouse upstairs, so it's all 3 floors putting in a new phone system. Currently, every phone call that they get goes into the clerk's office, and then he has to go ahead and call the other offices, but they don't have a voicemail or call waiting. So if the call's for myself, but the phone's coming in at where Taz is at, I have to get up and walk over there to go ahead and answer the phone. Very antiquated system. So yes, that money is in there.
And the other thing I want to ask council, and they may have, and of course, I'll have a minute for council to ask administrator any questions you have, but from a council standpoint, I'm asking the 5 of us, just to get I just want to get a feel from each of you. How do you feel about purchasing this building for, approximately $175,000? I'd just like to hear what y'all think, because we need to give the administrator at least some idea. If we don't have a consensus, then he knows not to do it, but.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to start, I think this would be a great access to Edgefield County. We noticed that we rent it out now, and we'd be saving taxpayer money in years to come if we go ahead and purchase this building. And I know it's indicated that, although we rent this building, anything happened to it, we have to be responsible for that. Like the roof need repairing or anything, we'd be responsible for it. So I have no problem with it. The rest of the council members, I have no problem with it. Go ahead and purchase it.
Didn't, Mr. Ledoux, didn't you say we'll save about $15,000 a year?
Yes, that's what our current rent is.
But, okay, I think I want to ask the question is, why we never considered buying it until now?
I'm not too sure if anybody knew that we didn't own this building.
I did. I did.
And
None of us knew.
until we got the amount that it's cost us to rent this building is reasonable. But now that we have the ability through the ARPA money, that's why I think we should, if we didn't have that ARPA money, I would maybe be on the fence as to whether we should purchase it or not. But we have the money, let's get this building. It's a great building, we use it all the time, and it really serves the needs of this county tremendously. So this is a great time to do this, in my opinion.
From whom do we rent it?
Excuse me?
From whom do we rent this building?
I have not looked into that because until council gave me the authority to consider it, I didn't want to spend the extra 5 or 10 or 15 minutes it would take me.
So, like, okay.
Do you know Taz? Taz, who do we rent? From whom do we rent? Matthew Mims? Okay. And do we know if he is willing to sell it?
In our lease agreement, there's a formula, and I guess I would have to ask our attorney, but there seems to be a way to do that. It's written into the agreement.
I'm all for it if he's good to do it. I'm just saying, I would like to know.
We paid for this building more than once already.
Yes. You had something?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm fine.
Jackie, I would like for you to know I didn't have no knowledge of
Didn't either.
we rent this building
Yeah.
too.
That's the first when the
Right.
administrator talked to me about it several weeks ago about it, I went, what do you mean we don't own that
Right.
building? So I didn't know it either. So none of us knew it.
Yeah, that's never come up.
Want to know other things that you don't know?
Well, and I will say this, to the administrator first, it looks like you have consensus up here if you want to go ahead and put that in as an ARPA item. But also, I think people here probably, well, a lot may realize this, but, you know, this building is used a lot for training and meetings, and so it's just not council, and it's not just once a month. I mean, as a matter of fact, anytime we want to have it for something, even like this budget workshop, I got to go to the clerk and say, is it scheduled for that night? And there have been nights we've been bumped because there was training going on. As a matter of fact, I think we bumped somebody from this night who needed it and could switch a night, and it was easy for them because it was some training, so they just switched it. So this building is used a lot by us.
And it's available for the public to rent as well, correct? So, if it's not being used by county government.
That's true. Okay, thank you for the consensus on that. So to the administrator, let you go with that. Council, just as far as the memo is concerned, I'll open the floor for council. Any questions or comments about the memo that you want to talk about with the administrator or council?
Well, I have a few. Do I not? Okay, so first of all, I wanted to ask you, Roger, in regards to the Archer study. So you said we're expecting that back in about a week?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think we will need to meet again? I know I don't like suggested extra meetings, but do you foresee another meeting to maybe make adjustments once that does come in? Are we gonna factor it into this year's budget? Or are we gonna try to go ahead and utilize that information? Or to start making steps?
One of the things that we have to, there's two factors. One, we all know the economy is going crazy, and the inflationary factors are just, we don't know if it's going to continue this way for the next 3 months, 6 months, year, or what's going to happen. So that's something that I'm very sensitive to, the needs of our employees. So I don't want to say that it's all going to be answered with the Archer study, because once we get that, then we have to really start looking at it on a individual basis. Okay, it says that record clerks should be making so much money. Well, how does that affect the record clerks that we have here? The 5% may be good in some cases, the 5% may not be good. 5% may be too much in some cases. That doesn't mean we're going to go less. We're going to have at least 5% there. So it's going to take a while to analyze the results of it. But I've made a commitment to the employees, and I made a commitment to you that we'll look at those things just like we did with the sheriff's department, just like we did with the paramedics. And at the appropriate time, if we need to get back and make some other adjustments, I don't see it being an adjustment saying, oh, we need to go to 7% for everybody. I see it being more, well, and I'll pick on the clerk's office right now, that, you know, they got a lot of office clerical type staff. And so there may be 2 or 3 or 4 of them that need some adjustment based on what they're doing, but the other ones are fine. So it's going to be more of a case-by-case and something that I really need to look at and analyze. And then in this particular case, sitting down with the clerk and saying, okay, here's what I'm seeing, what do you see? And same thing as we did with all the elected officials and department heads. I don't like to look at a carte blanche.
So we might not be taking it up currently within our next 3 readings as it pertains to budget, but this year we might see some.
Well, and I would say that before 3rd reading, we'll have enough facts and information that we may be coming back to you with some adjustments.
Okay.
But right now, I'd say let's stay with the 5% and see if there's any need for adjustments beyond that.
Okay.
And I would be surprised if there were not some.
I'm just happy to hear we're going to use the Archer study and we're going to be looking at, I just want to be sure. So, and I know you will, thank you. In regards to the IT, I'm all about changing, you know that. Y'all know I don't like this IT. But are we in a contract right now? And how much is that gonna take for us to get out of that contract?
The contract ends on June 30th. They have already heard from someone within the county that I wasn't going to sign the contract. And I told Taz you could let them know that no decision has been made, which is the truth, that we're looking in it. And they already know how disappointed I've been at a couple occasions based on the emails that I've gotten back from them, so.
Okay, so the other two are just comments, not questions. First of all, I'm just gonna tell you, I don't like to use this word, but I hate the fact that it has gotten to the point where we have to pay people to clean up our roads. That is just sad.
It is.
It's just sad. And some mamas and daddies need to be spanked for not spanking their children and teaching them better. I'm just saying. But anyway, that just tears me up. But I know it's needed, so yeah. And the other thing is in regards to the road maintenance fee. So I've talked to Senator Massey about this. And while we thought this might be an easy sell all the way around, what I've heard is that there is opposition from the upstate. What their opposition is, I'm not clear on yet. So I've asked him how we can help, what you might do. I'm waiting on that. And so when I have something, if there is anything we can do. But that's the latest that I have there, is it's not, I think they being our delegation, thought it was going to be an easy, quick fix, and it turns out maybe not. So just wanted to give y'all that update. That's all I got.
And if I could, that is why we have options available for you, so that we're not stuck in one particular way of funding that.
Questions or comments on the budget memo? Everybody okay then? I did want to mention one last thing before we go to the page by page, and that is to comment on the litter thing, because the administrator and I talked a lot about this. And so, you know, as disappointed as I am too in everything you've just said that is happening, you know, the truth of the matter is, at least my looking at it too, is we just can't police our way out of this thing. There's just, you know, the sheriff does a good job, his deputies do a good job, the litter officer does a good job, but I don't think we'll ever see a law enforcement person every half mile on every road 24 hours a day. So we all know that's just silly. So people litter when officers aren't around. I mean, it's just, that's what happens. So we'll never police our way out of it. We still need to police our way. We still need to find people, and we need to encourage the magistrate to find people, and we need to pick up trash and all those other things. But the fact of the matter is, that is a tiny, tiny group of people to get caught. And so maybe this is an innovative way to try. And if it doesn't work, then we'll do something different next year. But it was worth a try, at least, that we could try that. All right, council, the way I lined this out, of course, I said we would next, by the way, did you need to talk about the Exhibit A? Or that's everything you've already covered, I think, right, on the...
I don't need to talk about it, but if you want me to, I can.
I think these are all the things that throughout the course of the memo, if you look at Exhibit A, these are the American Recovery Plan Fund, the ARPA money, and those are all the things, which also includes using ARPA to pay retail strategies. That's the people right now that are recruiting for us in the commercial and restaurant and retail. So that's the total of those. So all those would be a part of this budget. And then after you turn that page, you'll see the budget ordinance. So I'll ask you, council, to go over, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 pages, maybe 9 pages, and get to the budget worksheets. So you get to the budget worksheets, you will see, I'll let everybody get there first. So in the budget worksheets, you'll see in the upper right-hand corner page, in this case it says 1 of 50. There's actually 100 and some pages here, but and we'll get to that in a minute, but it says 1 of 50. So all I'm gonna do is just flip through it. There was some page that you wanted to stop on. You need to speak up quick, and then we'll stop and talk about whatever you want to, but just in case there was something on a page that's made a question on. So I'm just gonna run through them, so if everybody's ready. Page 1, page 2, again, stop me if you have something you would say. Page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7.
I can't keep up like that.
Not going,
I need some glasses or something. I get, okay, we on page 7?
upper right-hand corner.
All
Oh,
right, I'm on page 4.
okay, remember, this is just flipping through if you've already marked something.
Okay.
I'm not asking you to read every page, because that's something we should have done in our time leading up to this meeting.
Exactly.
So I'm on page 8. You on page 8?
I'm on 8.
All right, page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Page 17. Page 18. Page 19. Page 20. Page 21. Page 22. Page 23. Page 24. Page 25. Page 26. Page 27. Page 28. Page 29. Page 30. Page 31. Page 32. Page 33. Page 34. Page 35. Page 36. Page 37. Page 38. Page 39. Page 40. Page 41. Page 42. Page 43. Page 44. Page 45. Page 46. Page 47. Page 48. Page 49. Page 50. Now, as council will notice at the beginning here, the pages now pick up really with the bottom right-hand corner. And you'll see 51. Some bottom right-hand corner, page 51. Page 52. Page 53. Page 54. Page 55. 6. Page 57. Page 58. Page 59. Page 60. Page 61. Page 62. Page 63. Page 64. Page 65. Page 66. Page 67. Page 68. Page 69. Page 70. Page 71. Page 72. Page 73. Page 74. Page 75. Page 76. Page 77. Page 78. Page 79. Page 80. Page 81. Page 82. Page 83. Page 84.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
What page y'all on?
84.
I'm saying to ask my question. I'm on page 78.
You got a question on page 78? Okay,
I
let me
just
flip that.
wanna know what is the red for? The red number. Is that, what do that mean? Is
You
something
have more
cut
red
off?
on some of yours than I have on mine.
That's just showing a percentage. That has nothing to do with the actual, if you look on every page, there's going to be areas where, not every page, but a lot of them, that's just giving you a percentage increase or decrease.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're back to 84. Page 84. Page 85. Page 86. Page 87. Page 88. Page 89. Page 90. Page 91. Page 92. Page 93. Page 94. Page 95. Page 96. Page 97. Page 98. Page 99. Page 100. Page 101. Page 102. Page 102 is the last page. Just want to give everybody the opportunity, just to page by page. All right, council, and we can discuss anything after the public comments for people. I thought if it's okay with you, we'll go ahead and do the public comments side, and then we can still talk among ourselves if there's anything afterwards, because we may hear something we want to change. So with comments on the budget, I'm going to start with our elected officials. So I know we have a couple of them here, at least, so I'll ask, does anybody, you want to?
Thank you, I'm good.
Okay, sheriff is good. Anything from you, Sonny? Comment noted. Okay, I think I'm missing anybody. I'm trying to look.
Jane?
Oh, I'm sorry, Jane, yes. Okay, thank you. Did I miss anybody else? Sorry. Such a big crowd, I'm in trouble. All right, then we're gonna go to department heads. So are there any department heads here we need to hear from? So I'm gonna start over here. Jim, I will consider you for the moment a department head, so do you wanna?
If we could, if anybody's going to speak, they really need to come to the microphone, or we're not going to capture this on tape. And Aretha gets very upset with me.
Got 8 recycling centers, 31 employees, all over the age of 60. So they're using this as an additional income to help supplement them. Your Edgefield County recycling centers are open more than anybody else's. I've checked with McCormick, Saluda, all the others, and you're open every other day plus the weekends. Saluda County's open in the afternoons. And they only have 6 recycling centers, whereas you have 8. Do consider Sweetwater's becoming an issue. I know, thanks to Roger, we added an extra employee down there. It's helped, but that's just a temporary fix. I'd like to see, probably in the next year, you're probably going to need another employee down there, so that you can keep all the compactors, cardboard, trash, household garbage, plus making sure they put their waste where they're supposed to. They're making $7.95 an hour. I think Tiffany told me you've said 8.10.
You know, raising it to 8:10.
8.10. We'll take it. We sure would love to have more if you all would consider it. I'd like to see 8.20. That might be asking a lot, but minimum wage is $7.25 right now.
Yes.
So they're really not making much over minimum. So that's my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just scan across here. Susie Spurgeon, Department Head, do you have any comments? Okay, please come up.
I was just wondering what the breakdown of the salary was, considering losing my assistant. So right now, I haven't been told what the breakdown is, what the person from the other department might get, what I would get, versus, all I know is $8,000 less than what we currently have.
I'm curious too, what would be the increase in Susie's salary, and what would we offer this a backup person?
Same thing we discussed. I don't know.
You didn't tell me a figure.
We did.
Currently, it's around 55. $8,000 less brings it down to 47. 5% increase brings my salary to around 42. So it's only 5,000 to play with. And there's another position involved as well. So I'm just curious.
I don't want to shout out your salary in front of everybody. You want to go on to another person, and then I'll come back on this one.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so as I go across, let's see, Garrett here, you have any? Okay. Am I missing any other department head? Oh, I'm sorry, Doc, you're sitting right there, I'm sorry. Looking out here, not over here.
I'm good.
We know Taz is good, because she's in charge of it. Something that slipped in, she can do it. All right, so we've covered the department heads, right? Make sure I didn't miss anybody. All right, and then we're down to any public comments on the budget. So you didn't have to sign up, so if y'all want to go first, I know you're here to comment on something. So Doug, you want to do it? Okay, George going to do it?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Council members, thank you for the opportunity to present to you. My name is George Thornton. I'm a resident of Edgefield County, and I'm a member of the Civic League Board, and we have 6 board members here this evening to represent us. I'd like to start with a little bit of background about the Civic League for those of you who haven't spent a lot of time with it. The mission of the Edgefield Civic League is to promote Edgefield County through its physical assets, employees, and volunteers. Physical assets include the Edgefield Welcome Center and the Tompkins Library. They are located at 103 and 104 Courthouse Square in Edgefield, and the Pottery Building located behind the Welcome Center on Simpkins Street. The Welcome Center houses meeting space for public meetings and events, public restrooms for visitors to Edgefield, and for events held on the Edgefield Town Square. There are records and artifacts for the Civic League there. records and working space for the old Edgefield District Genealogical Society, records for the Edgefield Cemetery Association, and meeting spaces and storage for the Edgefield Preservation Association. The old Edgefield District Genealogical Society is a very unique asset for the county. It's considered to be the best genealogical library in the state and perhaps in the Southeast because of an uninterrupted history. And registered visitors to the Welcome Center have averaged almost 1,600 people from 2016 to 2020. Peak visitation was just under 2,000 in 2019. And this number does not include family members and children and other people who were here with the visitors. COVID caused a significant decline of approximately 1,000 visitors a year over 2020 and 2021. But this decline is projected to reverse in 2022. And we believe that visitors have contributed significantly to county and town businesses and the county tax revenue. The Civic League requires an annual operating budget of approximately $72,500 a year. And that's to support and continue operations. The budget is fairly straightforward, and I'll give you a copy of this to consider. But 80% of the budget is for salary. And we are in the process of recruiting a director for the Welcome Center activities. That person would have a minimum of a bachelor's degree, preferably in library science, and would help with the research in the Genealogical Society. The rest of the budget is about utilities, insurance, administration, and building maintenance, and we've assumed a 5% inflation rate for this year. So the Civic League Board of Directors respectfully request that the Edgefield County Council provide $35,000 in annual support to continue Civic League operations and the housing of the Genealogical Society. That number, $35,000, represents 46% of the proposed annual operating budget. Our cost to the county of $14 per visitor based on our historical and projected visitation for 2022. And we believe that's great value in terms of marketing expense per head for people we're touching in the way that we touch them face-to-face. So the proposed budget will also allow for an increase in Civic League sponsored activities and an increase in community support. And there are many, many more things we can do with the right staff. So again, we would ask y'all to consider providing support to the Civic League. And we would be happy to answer any questions you might have about Civic League, either from me or from the other board members present.
So let me ask a question, and I may have to get the administrator to tell us this unless you know the answer. Currently, how much does the county give to the Civic League?
I believe nothing.
We receive nothing from the county now. We will, memorandum of understanding, $16,800, and we get funding from the town, a little over $20,000. And we were trying to generate money from the Genealogical Society, which we're struggling with that right now.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So no money from the county.
I'm trying to think, didn't we give money for insurance or something like that?
We have not received, we used to be a line item until 5, 6 years ago, and the line item was decreased annually, and then it went to zero. It was, say, 10 years ago, it was 17,000 plus. The county had a line item, and it generally went down year by year. So 7,000, then it zeroed out. We were not on a line item at all.
Okay, and you get $20,000 from the town of Edgefield.
That's correct.
So $20,000 out of the $72,500 budget, right?
That's correct.
So where does the other $52,000 come from that funds your budget?
Okay, right now, we did have money from the county coming in where we generated a service for the county. That was $16,800, $14,000 from the Genealogical Society, and $20,000, so that came up I'll have to add the math, but that's where we were with it. So right now, we are looking for funds to run the Civic League.
And various fundraising activities.
So, yeah, we do fundraisers. We have done barbecues and various things like that, incorporated it with a cruise in that came to town, various other things like that, and we are always willing to reach out and support other organizations and whatever the town requests. But that's where we were getting our fund. We do get donations. Occasionally, we'll get a donation. And occasionally, we have big expenses. We had to have some renovations done last year, about $2,000. Roof about 6 years ago was $22,000. Air conditioned, $2,000. The stained glass window at the Lynch building was about $3,600. Stuff like that comes up. So we're limping along. We try to put a few dollars back, but if we had a roof to be replaced right now, we would be in pretty bad shape. So we try to do what we can. It does come from some donations, correct?
Questions from council?
I'm just curious about the folks that visit from out of town. Do you have an idea of what percentage of them are considering moving to the area in the last couple of years?
Yeah, we had Saturday. I normally work there on Saturday. I'm in and out during the week, but Saturday we had people from South Dakota, different states coming in. They were looking at maybe buying a house at Mount Vintage. People are coming in, they're asking questions about Edgefield, the school, what we have to offer, the historical value of it, whether they want to be involved in it. One of them came up and spent the night. I think he was from Orangeburg, and he wanted a tour Saturday afternoon. They were looking at moving to Edgefield. And I think with these new industries coming in, you see more and more of it. So I think as Edgefield County expands, we'll have a better need for our services, just answering questions. People call on Saturday, all during the week. We open 6 days a week at this time. And we take voicemails with correspondence and those type things. So we try to do the best, and there's better ways probably of doing it. If we get this new person on, we'll probably have a better website, a better information, and we relate back to them. Brochures, want to know about the courthouse, want to know about the county government, want to know about the school system, how safe it is here living in Edgefield County. A lot of those questions come up to us. Where can they stay? We're limited on hotels right now. We got the Edgefield Inn out there, but I guess if we ever get the hotel in Edgefield, that would be a draw also. So we've got ideas. The Civic League has been a big supporter of revitalizing the hotel. We started in that 6 years ago. George was part of that process, and it's been turned over to the Palmetto Preservation Society right now. And they've got people looking into it, but I think that'll be a big plus, just bringing people in. But they come to us. They like the square. They like the buildings, where to go eat, what to do, what is the big thing going in Edgefield. Even the peach blossoms, they were asking questions about that. Where do we need to go? What is the peach season? So this is Edgefield County. It's all about Edgefield. And that's basically my sale on it, unless y'all got another question of me.
Doug, I would like to say we thank and appreciate you all serving. We noted that you all serve Edgefield County a great deal. And I noticed that since we have Gender Act is in coming, and I'm quite sure there's gonna be more people wanting to come in and want to get some more information on, what's going on in the county, what place to eat in there. And I'm definitely appreciate you all coming forward and asking for some help. I'm pretty sure that once we go back, we're going to counsel him, we'll sit down, we'll talk about what we can help you all with.
So this covers the entire county. This doesn't, Johnston doesn't have their own civic league, and Trenton doesn't. I know Trenton doesn't.
They have the chamber, and we're a member of the chamber, but that's the only, connection we have with Johnston, besides sending people over.
Okay.
And the Ridge Heritage, which is an organization over there, we work with them, and they haven't had meetings in the last couple of years due to COVID, but we interact with them in meetings and houses and things like that, and tours if possible. So that's Johnston Ridge Heritage.
And how many employees do you have?
How many do we have? We had one full-time, and we paid people to fill in when that person was out on vacation pay, is things like that. But other than that, it's really volunteered. We just have to get the right people in there to volunteer. So we don't have money to pay these extra people. We just had that one full-time one.
I would like to ask, do y'all have a membership?
On the Civic League, the Civic League Board has been around for over 100 years, and around 1929, the free library, the public library, was put in the building that we're in now. It was donated by D.A. Tompkins. That was right during the Depression. The bank failed, and he donated the building. And it built from there. That's where the library was until about 1985. The library moved due to a fire next door to where we are. We had a lot of valuable records still in the building. And the Genealogical Society was formed by Nancy Mims, and we've been doing that for 37 years. But the Civic League has been around. It's an invited position that we elect 12 board members to oversee. It's like trustees to keep the building going, make sure the roof's not leaking, work with the county council, the town council, other organizations, and make sure our person is paid. We've got a lot of dated equipment in there right now. We need to do a lot. So I think we're at a turning point where we have an opportunity to grow and help the county at this point. Right?
So you said Edgefield's giving you 20,000?
The town of Edgefield is a little over 20,000.
So do Johnston and Trenton?
Johnston and Trenton do not.
Do y'all plan on asking them?
We haven't. That's an idea.
Okay.
We haven't done that. I mean, that's a good idea, but we just haven't done that. Any other questions?
I'll just make a comment.
Yeah.
In the last 3 weekends, I've had people in my home from out of the area looking to move to the area. Yeah. And so I think it's a big trend nationwide, and I think this would be a great investment for the county.
Yeah, they want to know the history of Edgefield, what it's about. Edgefield is the pulse of the South. You know, everything happened. Religion happened, and education, Furman University, Theological Seminary, Louisville, University of Georgia really spun off from Edgefield County, right on the borderline with Willington Academy. It was in Abbeville and Edgefield, so that was a spinoff University of Georgia. So we've got a lot to offer. The 10 governors, people want to go see where Strom Thurmond's buried. The second most historical cemetery in South Carolina is Willowbrook Cemetery, and we try to keep that up, but that parallels with the Civic League. We try to keep it up, do the best we can, but we're not asking money for that, but people do come to see it, and we try to keep it up by donations and other things. So. Any other questions?
Any other questions from council? Comments? Okay. Thank
We
you.
need your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay. I'll ask then, is there anybody else from the public who would like to speak tonight on the budget? Okay. Hearing none, then we've heard counsel from everybody on the comment list, so it's just down to any discussion left that we need to have as part of the budget workshop. So I'll just open the floor to council. Anything you want to discuss related to the budget that you've either heard or something else we need to talk about?
Would it be a big deal to do the 820? I mean, it's 10 cents more for Mr. Dorn's workers.
He had asked for 810, so that's what I put in the budget. I mean, it would not be a big deal other than the fact that we had a 24% increase in the solid waste fee from Tri-County to try to cover in other words, if they had only said 10% or 15, which was I expecting, then we would have had a lot more money. But we could go ahead and determine if there is enough money there for it. I could tell you right now what it would cost you. About $5,000.
And that's $5,000 what, going toward the 8?
Salaries.
If their salary is up to 820.
31 employees, yeah. Looking at 10 cents.
Idea. I think it'd be a good idea.
Exactly what are you getting from Tri-County for your expenses?
I have not been involved with them, but they said that the amount of material that they have had to send to Three Rivers from Edgefield County has increased dramatically.
I talked with someone today, and the number of residences in the county has increased by 35% this year. Now, I'm going by what he said, so it's totally not,
Well, it may be 35% over what they had last year,
yes.
but it's not like 35, we have a 35% increase in residents.
No, sir, 35%. But, okay, the recyclable type items, the metals, the cardboard, does the county get a kickback from that, or does Tri-County get all of that?
Who has been at the board meetings?
Both Albert and I, and the answer is that the Tri-County keeps that money to try to keep the taxes lower.
Did they give you any explanation on why we went up so high?
Mostly, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I sit on the Three Rivers Board, and until just last month, I was sitting on the Tri-County. And on the Three Rivers, which is the 9-county group that has the landfill, oversees it. Since COVID hit, and it is still going today, people are producing more trash. Whether that's yard debris, remodeling, all those kinds of things. It's been through the roof the last 2 years, everywhere, in every county.
Just a question.
Okay, since we're on salary, I noticed that, I was just wondering, when the last time the council had a raise?
The council got a raise in 1998, 24 years ago.
24 years ago.
Work on the budget. I know these things.
Well, I just hadn't, brought to attention. I know I'm talking with you, the other day, and I told you I was going,
Right. But it was in 1998 that you all
Can I make-
last received it.
Can I make a comment about that, Mr.? So it is worth noting for the public, if we were to raise our salary for the first time in 24 years, it wouldn't go into effect until after the next election cycle.
So, just to clarify, by state law, council cannot give itself a raise. The raise has to go into effect after the next election. The whole purpose of that is if, let's say they doubled their salaries and the population was upset with the fact that they gave such a large increase. They have an opportunity then during the next election to say, we didn't like that, we're not going to vote for you. So they've made a law that said that, so if council decides to increase their salary, that would go into effect not till December at the very earliest. And because council is not sworn in until January, may even be January at the very earliest. That's something I would have to legally look at, but it would not go into effect till at least December.
On the other side of the coin, if we reduce our salary, it becomes effective immediately. Just saying.
Correct. You could always go down. Right. You just can't go up.
So if you want to go down, we can do that anytime.
No need to going down.
We go down, I need the sheriff to come pick me up. Please, sheriff, come pick me up. I cannot afford to drive.
Maybe we'll do more video conferencing council meetings. Mr. Chairman, if I could, there was a question asked earlier on salary. The EMA director asked for a $5,000 increase. In the budget, there's a $4,000 increase.
That answer the question?
Which is what we discussed.
Okay. Anything else from
Does
council?
all that 4,000 go to her, or does part of that go to the,
That's what she would be receiving.
how much would the new person, if we,
Depends on who we have some money in there for them.
okay.
I really don't want to say a whole lot until we talk to that
Okay.
person and know what they're making and how that would affect them. But we do have some funds in there for that also, within that
Gotcha.
budget.
Gotcha.
Kind of like with the council bill, I don't want to lay all my cards down at one time.
You're a good poker player.
Well, I have one additional comment. Roger, thank you for your hard work. We appreciate it, and all the team that put the effort in to put this together.
Takes a lot of people, thank you.
Anything else from council?
Did we get an email today about the shad? Getting a award or something?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you did get an email today.
See
And
mine last night.
and I'm going to repeat this, because I like repeating it. I'm going to repeat it at the next council meeting.
Okay.
But the sheriff, who will remain nameless in the room, was honored with the fact that he was selected amongst all the sheriffs in South Carolina to attend a week-long meeting at the FBI Academy in Quantico. If you ever have been associated with public safety or law enforcement, it's a great honor to get selected to go up to the FBI Academy. It'll be a week-long session. It's not one of those things where you're just going to go ahead and have just a lot of fun. I've been up to one of these types of sessions. You work all day long, from 8 o'clock in the morning till at least dinner, and then many times sessions in the evening. And that's what our sheriff will be doing the first week in May. A lot of leadership, a lot of chance to have self-assessment, assessment of the department. But I think even more importantly, he's going to be up there with 30 or 40 other sheriffs throughout the United States. And he will be able to then network with other states, with other sheriffs, on what they're doing with ideas and be able to implement some of those new ideas here in our community. So it's a great honor that Jody was selected for this, and it's a great honor for Edgefield County that he was selected to be able to go to this academy. So, well done, Jody.
All under the theme of jail administration.
Detention?
Yeah.
And just being a first-term sheriff, facing the task in front of us with the new law enforcement center, I'm proud to go. I'll bring as much of that information home as I can. Is there a reason I can't at least have one day of fun, like a half an hour?
Okay. Anything else from council? All right. If I don't hear anything else from council, then is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Cooper makes a motion. Is there a second? And Dr. Kenyon seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate y'all being here.
Appreciate you guys being here.
Aretha? Aretha? Do we need to leave our notebook?